Thank you all for coming. It is 6:02. We do have a quorum of our city council. I did want to say that, but also most importantly, we have our youth advisory committee meeting tonight in attendance. Thank you all for showing up. They had a meeting, so they're going to learn something. I suppose they're going to learn something. So tonight, we are going to have Craig Hulse is going to do the economic development. And then we'll have a Q&A after both conversations. And then FIFA, we have Noelle LeVeaux is coming to make a presentation as well. We've had a lot of conversation. Paulette and I had the privilege of seeing multiple people for FIFA discuss what was going on. Obviously, everyone meaning every city, every first responder, and everything's going to be very involved when we have basically the effectively 9 Super Bowls here locally. So it's going to be a big deal for everybody. I'm sure traffic's going to be great and work out really nicely. But let me talk about the Q&A real quick. The question and answer time provides the opportunity for the public to ask questions regarding topics presented during the town hall meeting. Each person has the opportunity to ask one question. Out of respect for everyone's time, the questions should be limited to 1 minute. Answers will be provided by the mayor and the appropriate members of city staff. If we are unable to provide an answer during the meeting, the city staff will follow up with the person who asked the question of the meeting. So, and also the chief will be the one walking around, and it's just like that we did the short-term rental deal where we walked around with the questions, and the chief did a lot of those as well. And I think I did a lot of those too. So, without further ado, Craig Hulse, where'd you go? Oh, there you are.
So there should be ADA for 6'4" people. Instead of having to put a box, I may have to, file something with our HR department about, ADA rights for tall people. But anyway, that went down like a lead balloon. Right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you to council and to city management for voluntelling me to present here tonight. But as many of you know, I've never shied from sharing our message, professing the world of economic development, especially to people who might be interested. So thank you all for being here tonight. So before we start on going into economic development, I think we need to kind of share with everybody who we are as a community. And so who is North Richland Hills? You guys probably have all your own ideas and definitions and viewpoints, but really to the rest of the world, we're a city that is in the 200 city DFW Metroplex. Imagine, we are just one of 200 cities in the Metroplex, which is the 4th largest area in the country. So you call it television market, metropolitan area. We are the 4th, and we continue to grow with 8 million residents. We are not a, what's that? We're no longer in Kansas, Toto, or whatever that word is. When you dial it down just to our city specifically, we're over 72,000 people. We are very fortunate to have 1,200 brick and mortar businesses. In addition, and some of you may be in this room, 400 home-based businesses. Our 19 square mile city, which, believe it or not, takes about 20 to 25 minutes from the southern tip of NRH all the way up to the northern tip to drive, is centrally located between DFW Airport, downtown Fort Worth, and the Alliance Global Logistics Hub. Why is that important? Because we are equidistant. Many of our residents, many of our citizens are dual income households where you have one spouse working east, the other working west. They need to find a central location to manage those commute times. In addition, we all like being close to various things, various amenities, such as the airport, such as the stockyards, what have you. It's whether we like it or not, it's a strength for our community, is our central location. So why NRH economic development, but why economic development in general? Most cities of a certain size have a department. Why does it exist? It exists for really 3 things. One is to protect, diversify, and grow the city's economic well-being. Also, by doing so, it offsets the residential tax burden. And we share that because the larger the commercial base, the healthier the commercial base, the more diverse that base is, the less of a burden the taxes of that particular community fall on the residents only. Many of us drive through towns in Texas where there might have been a one company town that left, and now it's a one signal town, and it may be a flashing red light. We're very fortunate to be where we are, where we have many signals, many industries, many different reasons for our economic well-being. Second, somebody has to try and attract those target industries that complement our community, how our citizens want to see, what best fit within our community. I'll just be blunt. Myself, I don't spend much time trying to recruit vape shops or beer and wine stores. I think I would probably be out of a job if I spent time doing that. And then third is we have to compete with other communities. There's only a finite number of businesses out there that are attractive, that best fit our community, that our citizens want, that also make an economic impact, that can go around. And so in some cases, we have to compete and we have to put our best foot forward. Who are we? We're a small team. Two of us are here tonight. As the mayor said, I'm the director of economic development. Been here 18 years. I've enjoyed every minute of it. And we're also blessed to have Elizabeth Copeland in the back. Raise your hand. She's the analyst. Technically, she reports to me, but figuratively, I report to her. And if you have any negative questions tonight, she will be more than happy to answer them. But Elizabeth grew up here, went to Richland High, cut her teeth at NRH2O, and we're just glad to have her. And then Kelly Vaughn, who is also pictured, went to Fort Worth Christian, grew up here as well. So there's many hats of economic development. We probably all feel this way in our various jobs, but these are true. Every day I'm doing one of these, and I'm not going to read them off, but you can see up on the screen all the various things that we're forced to do. And one day it might be a bridge builder, the next day it might be a confidant. But we have to be able to zig and zag wearing these hats, sometimes simultaneously, other times consecutively. I also share this vision or visual of DFW overall, and you can see it's pretty large, but we are in the heart of it all. We're not an exurb, we're not Justin, we're not Joshua, and we are in the middle of it. We have no choice. We're in the bullseye. We're in the bullseye's bullseye, in fact. So one of the things that's a common misnomer, and I wish it was this easy, but then I may not have a job either, is why don't we have a Trader Joe's? We need a Trader Joe's. Why isn't it on this corner? Well, there are so many factors that impact a business choosing a location that I just wanted to bear with me, but I'm going to just kind of walk you through some things that are beyond the city's control, beyond your personal control, and are only factors that are in the decision-making of a particular business. The first one is demographics, customer concentration. Businesses want to focus on denser areas of their core customers. They're not going to spend money, hire people, and go to a location where they have no customer base. They also want to go where it's growing and not necessarily declining, and then have positive demographic trends. Also the life stages. A second factor is the market itself. And it's an ongoing joke. It's probably tattooed on my forehead, but I do agree with many of you in the room. We do have a lot of chicken places and we do have a lot of coffee places, but apparently these chicken and coffee places believe that there's still demand for more. But a lot of businesses look for existing competition and whether there's enough market potential for their businesses to succeed. Sometimes we do see a business opening. I think we all can admit, man, it's a bummer they opened at that location because they're not going to survive. And we all know it, but maybe they came in from outside, didn't do their research, and they didn't realize that they were opening a coffee shop next to a Starbucks or something of that nature. And then timing. You want to open up when there's demand and that you have the supply to meet it. Sometimes we see an oversupply, and that's where we see, for example, Sonic. There's been some talk about maybe too many Sonics in NRH. Third is location itself and site accessibility. Decision criteria is huge where we will try and recruit a business and they come back and say, unfortunately, it doesn't work. Well, why doesn't it work? Doesn't have the traffic counts, or we need a different access point, or the site's not visible enough, or it doesn't have something or another. Many cases we can try and mitigate those or work through those, but some of these are decisions that are made beyond our knowledge or control that we're not aware of per se. In addition, the cost to resolve some of these deficiencies is quite expensive. And a lot of ex-urban communities have this issue right now where the land may be attractive, it may be cheap, it may be beautiful, but it's going to cost millions of dollars to bring water, sewer, and gas to it. And so it just makes it cost prohibitive. And then finally, financial feasibility. Just because an attractive property or a vacant property is sitting there, there's always a reason. And each reason is its own riddle, its own menu, its own recipe as to why it's certain is. But there always has to be an agreement between the business and the landlord or the two parties. And in many cases, we can't influence that, or we're not able to influence that to the level of them to make a decision. And then finally, just like house searching, car searching, oh, I'd love to have that, that newest Range Rover. I just can't afford it, but I do need to drive. And so you got all these constraints that at the end of the day, cities cannot control many of these factors that determine a business location. Except for chicken and coffee. Apparently we do a good job of that. So diving down, how's the approach of economic development in North Richland Hills? Well, it's a three-prong approach. Number one is, thanks to you, your involvement, your feedback, we know what the target industries are that best fit our community. Number two is redevelopment and revitalization. We're about 90% built out. There's not a lot of pasture just for greenfield, brand new construction, which is the easiest thing to do. It's the most complicated now that we're faced with redevelopment of existing property and or revitalizing existing property. And then potentially, if the opportunity is big enough and it provides a big enough return, both financially and community-wide from a service level, do we consider incentives? And so I'll touch on these three here in order. First of all, again, thank you to our volunteers, our committees, survey responders, involved citizens who make comments or provide feedback to our council members, to staff. We have a repository of information that lets us know what the primary focus is for economic development from an industry perspective. The first one is specialty food and beverage. We call it that, and it's very specific because we would love to have a 5-star Bob Steak and Chop House, but we'd also love to have the latest iteration of something exciting, like a Cane Rosso, to come to town. Two very different businesses, very different price points, but they're special. And so that's one of the targets that we go for, specialty food and beverage that we know our citizens would be excited about, and also that would make an impact to the quality of life. Second is experiential and entertainment retail. We have hit a home run. Last year was the biggest year in my 18 years, probably one of the biggest years in the history of NRH. And we knocked it out of the park with this. And we have to thank our forefathers for taking the risk and building a water park back in the mid-90s to put ourselves on the map, which paved the way for a story for myself and Elizabeth to tell, that we're a place for people to go to have fun and for families to recreate. And so fortunately for us, we enjoyed the opening of Peppa Pig. One day I will stop having to say that. I say it probably every couple times a year. I never thought I'd say Peppa Pig more than I ever have. I bet you many staffers are tired of it as well. But also Malibu Jacks. Peppa Pig would not have located in North Richland Hills but for NRH2O. Malibu Jacks would not have located in NRH but for Peppa Pig. So birds of a feather do flock together. Omnichannel retail. This might be a new term to you guys, but with the advent of online, Walmart, Target, they look at their stores now as basically warehouses, where they not only encourage shoppers, brick and mortar, in-person shopping to take place, but they're also fulfillment centers. And so we look for those businesses that provide services to our residents from a personal in-store standpoint, but also provide those services online, not only locally, but to the general area, because the sales tax revenue off that stays with the city, and that helps balance our diversification of the city's budget. Fourth, and what you see most prevalent along our major corridors, are professional offices and business services. Those are prevalent on Precinct Line, Mid-Cities, Roof Snow, Davis. Those are lower density workforce centers that provide services to our citizens, but also employment and incomes to support the local businesses. The people that work out of those, they go to the McDonald's, they go to the pizza place. And so it's just a portion of the ecosystem that we welcome. So in sum, on this particular segment is every business is important. You might get me to disagree that a vape shop's important, but every business is important, but we put greater emphasis on recruiting, retaining, and growing these segments here because we know they're home runs for our community. The second area is redevelopment and revitalization. What is it defined? Everybody's got a definition of it, but put simply, it's building new structures or rehabilitating existing structures on developed property. 3 stats come to mind that I want to share with you. The first is 39 years. That's an IRS number, and that's what the IRS believes is a useful life of a commercial property, believe it or not. 8.2 million is the amount of square feet in North Richland Hills that is either retail space or office space. The number 37% is the amount of that space in North Richland Hills currently that's over 39 years of age. Makes sense. We were founded in 53, I believe, and we grew northward. But there is a large amount of commercial real estate in North Richland Hills that is out of code. It looks tired, needs some work. And so we have put forth, thanks to council and the councils before them, 2 programs that we believe help stimulate and remove some barriers to get these properties revitalized and redeveloped. The first one is what we call our BIG program, which is the Business Improvement and Growth Program, which I'll get into details on the next slide, but it helps revitalize commercial facades. The second one and most recent is NRH Easy Streets, which is a confined zone that provides benefits to property owners to overcome physical, functional, or visible obstacles in their mission to attract businesses into their property. But for these 2 programs, many of these older properties, and most of the cities are seeing this, but for these efforts, we would see a lot of these buildings continue to deteriorate. And not to get on a soapbox, I tend to go along on some things. I'm very well aware of that. I'm staring at my boss Paulette in the back of the room, but we can't force people to invest in their properties. It's just, I wish we could, but we can't. We can enforce code, but if it's within code, that's all we can do. And so it's one of those things that we can only lead the horse to water in many cases. So just to highlight on the Business Improvement and Growth Program, it was launched in 2009, and it helps revitalize those mature corridors in NRH south of mid-cities, Roof Snow, 26, Davis, Bedford Euless Road. It's a matching grant. The property owner or the business has to put up their own money, but we will match up to 25% or a max of $20,000 on the facade. And if we have many pole signs that either were falling over or decayed or in the way of vehicles, and so we also have a matching grant up to $5,000 towards the removal of pole signs and the construction of new conforming signage of the style that you see that's more monument-like. 17-year-old program, we've had 30 business participants. The city has invested $310,000 in matching grant funds that does not come from property tax revenue or your property tax that you pay. In return, we've seen such a return, an investment. Each project is different. We'll have one where we grant $20,000, but their investment might have been millions. And then another project, it may have been a 2-to-1 match. So it just varies. But overall, it's been quite beneficial for the community. And you can see some of the blue dots on the map. This is an excerpt from the Star Telegram back in 2009 when we launched the program. It was the first of its kind in Tarrant County. Some examples of the program. I wish I had clearer photos, but I had to dig deep on some of these projects. One is False Idol Brewing. You can see what it was before, what it was after. You can see Painted Tree Marketplace right on the corner of Davis and Bedford Euless. It used to be, was it a Piggly Wiggly or what was it? Was it Safeway? Then it was an Office Depot, and then it became Painted Tree. And then V's House. If you haven't been to V's House, I highly encourage you to go check it out. It's one of the best known Vietnamese restaurants in the area. Just some examples of results from this particular program. The second one, and adopted more recently, is NRH Easy Streets. And rather than having a scatter shooting approach, we want to address the image of the city, especially the door that opens up to 40,000 cars a day on Davis and 40,000 cars a day on 26. So Easy Streets is an actual zone that provides benefits to property owners, commercial property owners, to take advantage of various services so that they in turn revitalize their properties. You can see the map here. It consists of about 130 acres and 121 commercial properties. Very visible corridor for us. Get this. Even though it's a small portion of the community, it has only 1% of the properties, it's 7% of the code violations. It has lower rents and it has higher levels of vacancy. And part of it is a lot of these were built in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. The lots are shaped weird, and they're underparked, or there's certain things that just don't work for businesses anymore that need to be done. And so we have provided a program that expedites review of their plans, provides discounts or waivers to city fees, and if there's a return and a benefit to the community, customized grants to assist with their renovations. Two examples, the first one being 7921 Boulevard 26, just south of Chuck E. Cheese. This one is the future home of Omega Billiards, which is currently located in Hearst. They're one of the largest billiard supply companies in the country. And I know myself, some of you tend to watch billiards on ESPN late at night and Sunday morning about 3 o'clock. And, when you wake up to go to the bathroom and you're like, what's going on? And you go back to bed, you may see an Omega Billiards sign next to one of the pool players being advertised. But they're relocating here, and they're currently in negotiations with AutoZone next door. But what I want to call out is this property didn't have sidewalks, proper lighting. The building and facade was crumbling. There wasn't striping for the parking. And so you can see the before and after. And this picture really doesn't do it justice, but there was a considerable amount of private money invested in this property. The second one and most recent is 5750 Davis Boulevard. These are just some images of this particular property on Mockingbird and Davis to show what's important to the city is the streetscaping, landscaping, beautification of our corridors. And so this is just the end result of a very old property that lacked any landscaping or sidewalks, and what they were able to do with our Easy Streets program. We're working on a couple more, and they're larger projects than the big program, but something that we're trying to chip away slowly but surely along these corridors. And then finally, the potential use of incentives. And I say the potential use is because, contrary to some opinion, economic development doesn't hand out an incentive to every business that comes to North Richland Hills. But there is a case for the use of incentives. And when that does occur, they're called economic development agreements. And the first element I want to call to your attention is competitive edge. They allow cities, especially for us in North Richland Hills, to compete with other communities that might otherwise choose a different community. We are competing with two of the most lucrative and lucky cities in the country being Southlake and Grapevine. Grapevine. They are located at the confluence of 5 major highways and the second largest airport in the country. They have to work not to be successful. They just have to roll out of bed and they're going to get businesses. You can't help it. We heard, no offense, but we heard their mayor of 50 years talk about how difficult it is to recruit businesses. I was dumbfounded, but that's just me. Southlake. Sure, yeah, let's have everybody make millions of dollars and be close to the DFW airport and along. It just doesn't happen. So we are in the shadow of 2 communities that everybody seems to think is the shining city on a hill that just you twinkle your nose and a Trader Joe's shows up. So we have to compete. Revitalization. In some cases, it's just not financially feasible for a business to locate or for a developer to do what they need to do. They just can't make it work. So with a little nudging and little financial assistance from the city, if it provides a return to the city, we would consider incentives to see that happen. Number 4, the quality of life factor. Do we expect a high quality public benefit and amenity to our citizens where it preserves their property values and it minimizes their property tax burden? Speaking of property tax burden, the relief to our residents, trying to shift that burden away from the residential portion. And then finally, to just remain fiscally stable. Again, back to that one-horse town city that lost that business and now is a one-signal town. One thing that is typically talked a lot about and is a common term right now is transparency and the need to be transparent. We have won transparency awards by the state. I think we're up to 2 or 3 now, right, Mayor? 3. One thing that has been tried and true with the state of Texas, with every city in the state, and most cities across the country, is the ability to have certain levels of information be confidential. Especially in economic development areas, the cities are protected for a certain point of time on deliberating opportunities with other businesses in a confidential manner. If that weren't to take place, businesses would not be willing to share their proprietary information, their sales figures, their estimates, their employment information, out of fear that it would just be cast out in the public and their trade secrets would be blown away. Secondly, when you start to negotiate values of something, in order for the city to maximize the leverage on behalf of our citizens, we need to have that confidentiality so that it's not debated in the public where their leverage is completely lost. And so in sum, when those 2 things happen and a deal does take place, the state does require that all final and fully executed agreements do have to be uploaded to the comptroller website. So they are eventually available for public consumption. It's just when it comes down to the negotiations, we need to have the most leverage as possible to maximize the community and the citizens' leverage. So what's our approach when we do consider incentives or what I call an EDA? First, but for the incentive, would the business even come here? In many cases, there's a situation where the business is like, we can't come here, or we are getting a better offer somewhere else. So that's a decision factor where do we consider something to get them here? So that's called the but-for argument. Second, does it provide a positive return on the city's investment? That's very important because you hear the words corporate welfare or giving away money. That's not the case with economic development because it has to provide a return. And in fact, we hold our standards high where not only a positive return, but sometimes 2 times, 3 times, 4 times the return of that particular effort. Third, if upfront grants funds are required to lure that business or get that business here, one thing that has been driven by council and city management is that no source of funding will include property tax revenue. That's the taxes you guys pay. The other sources that are used are sales tax dedicated to economic development, gas development fees, other sources of revenue that are inconsistent and that don't affect your tax rate and don't impact your tax rate. That's very important, and that's something that's been hammered into my efforts as well as Elizabeth's. And then finally, in the event the business does not perform, there's always clawback clauses such that we get our investment back, our money back, or we are happy owners of a new whatever it might be. At the end, only targeted opportunities are considered, and when you look at the 1,200 or so businesses in NRH, less than 2% have some sort of EDA with us. So if there is an impression that we're just giving away money or giving stuff out, that's definitely not the case. On to some good news. This is just a summary of the activity over the past year of new businesses that have come to North Richland Hills. You can see they're evenly diverse throughout the community. And highlighted in yellow, and this slide's a few months old, but you can see Coming Soon Blue Goose Cantina came again. Not only did they come once, but they came twice. And so I should have edited that slide to say April 2026. But La Madeleine, Buratino's Pizza, Jake's Burgers, Tacos and Avocados, Public Pita Market, something you may not be aware of, is under construction right across the street next to Waffle House, a future Mediterranean restaurant, and Starbucks just opened most recently. So, okay, what about economic development in action? Here's some examples. The first one was a huge effort by the city to attract Babes and Sweetie Pie ribeye. And we knew this was going to be a big deal, and it was welcomed and overwhelmingly supported by the community when they were announced. This is a timeline chart that just shows months and years to the sales tax revenue the city sees. And you can see the first red star is when Babes opened. And you can see the amount of sales tax that was received. The area in red just so happens to be COVID. Couldn't prevent that. Restaurants kind of were shut down, so revenue went down. But you can see once Sweetie Pies opened and COVID abated, not only did sales tax revenue at Roof Snow and 820, and I have to admit that was not a pretty intersection when I got here 18 years ago, is now one of our strengths. It's up 25%, and we've welcomed all these businesses that you see here on that street corner since the evolution of these two businesses. Another example is we just completed the 10-year EDA with a developer who attracted Kroger Marketplace to North Richland Hills. The picture down below on the right, yes, people are camping in front of Chick-fil-A. Apparently the first 100 people that come to a brand new Chick-fil-A get Chick-fil-A for a year. And so every new Chick-fil-A that opens up, people camp out and they wait. And that was just a photo I unearthed from the bowels of my computer in front of North Tarrant Marketplace. In sum, we just completed that EDA term. They received $1.7 million in reimbursements. In return, during that period, we received 4.2, a 2.4 times return for competing to lure this business from another community. Going forward now, there is no reimbursements. It's ours, it's pure profit for the city. So while we did incentivize this project, we made a strong profit, and we now have 100% profit going forward. Second one that I'm proud of is that Roof Snow 820 intersection where Winco Foods came in. Not only did Winco come in, they demolished a functionally obsolete commercial shopping center that was decaying and now is the anchor next to Floor and Decor, Pop Shelf, Ross Dress for Less. That was an agreement also that was highly profitable for the city, but it required a little bit of financial participation. Yes, Peppa Pig's back. We all know that while NRH2O continuously does a great job every summer, unfortunately, the parasite of Mount Asia did not. They opened up the same year, and it was brand new rides. 25 years later, they hadn't invested a dime, and it just continued to decay and fall apart till they finally closed it. And fortunately for us, Peppa Pig, Merlin out of the UK, showed some interest, but we were competing with Houston for their second Peppa Pig in the nation outside of Orlando, aside from Orlando, and we were able to recruit them and enjoy their grand opening in July. Yes, that is pink sand, and yes, that pink sand stayed there for a couple months. Another shining example is Blue Goose Cantina. It's clear they know what they're doing, except for fire prevention. But they are just a overwhelming joy by the community in welcoming them to North Richland Hills. They love being here, and we're just happy that they reopened. Was it last week? Was it, Elizabeth, last week? Week and a half ago? And most recent is Jake's Burgers and Brews, Tacos and Avocados. The image to the top left is taken last week where they went vertical. This property is directly adjacent to the community garden and shares parking with the community garden. The image on the bottom right was taken last week at their Benbrook location. They're currently doing the same model and concept in Benbrook with the two restaurants, and you can see it's going to look great. In addition to this, there'll be an acre of outdoor area for all of you to enjoy while your kids and grandkids are within eye shot and earshot. You don't have to worry about them crossing the street or getting in trouble because there's going to be playgrounds and stuff for them to do. And then finally, as of this morning, La Madeleine remains under construction next to HTO on Mid-Cities Boulevard. It was a beautiful sunrise, and unlike the one in Grapevine, as the mayor points out, is old and outdated. This is going to be their next generation La Madeleine, but the same menu and the same good food. As a hometown resident, I know the hometown residents are just over the moon to have La Madeleine right across the street. I appreciate your time. I hope I didn't go too long. I didn't see Paulette or the mayor going like this or looking at their watches or anything like that. But I do appreciate your time. And if you ever want to know more about economic development, I encourage you to go check out nrhed.com. There's plenty of information on there. And again, I appreciate each and every one of you for being here tonight. Thank you. Yes. And we will be fielding questions after our next presenter.
Thanks for having me tonight. My name is Noelle LeVeaux. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for the North Texas FIFA World Cup Organizing Committee. Does everybody know the World Cup's coming? Okay, great. Do we have any soccer fans in the house? Okay, even better. Awesome. We got a few. Okay, that's good. Okay, I'm sorry. Did I say soccer? Do we have any football fans? Okay. All right, now I know where I am. Okay. So I'm just going to give you a bit of an overview, and we're going to take questions at the end. I'm going to try to fly through this. As you can imagine, this is a really large event, so there's a lot going on. It starts on June 11th. It goes through July 19th. Our first match here in the North Texas area is on June 14th. There are 48 teams playing in the World Cup this time. That is the largest World Cup there has ever been. Last time there were 32 teams. We have 9 matches that we played at Dallas Stadium. Now, you probably know that as AT&T Stadium, but during the tournament, it's going to be called Dallas Stadium. There's a couple reasons for that. One, there was a branding conflict. So Verizon is a commercial partner for FIFA, so it cannot be called the AT&T Stadium. And the other reason is that they are actually not using any of the branded names for the stadiums. So there are 16 host cities for the World Cup this time around. It's a North American World Cup. So we have 11 cities in the U.S. that are hosting, as well as 2 in Canada and 3 in Mexico. We have 9 matches here, including a semifinal on July 14th. We have more matches than any other of the host cities. So we're very proud of those bragging rights here in North Texas, of course. We will have a 34-day fan festival. It will be held at Fair Park in Dallas. And we are expecting to see $1.5 to $2.1 billion in economic impact over this 39-day period. We'll talk a little bit about how we get to that number. So soccer is the biggest sport in the world. It boasts 6 billion fans. A while ago, when this slide was up at when I was speaking at UT Austin, a 19-year-old told me that it said 8 billion fans. And he said, that's everybody in the world. And I said, yes, because everyone's a soccer fan, right? But no, but there's about 6 billion fans for soccer. It is the largest sport in the world. We are expecting to see almost 100,000 visitors a day to the area. So that's about 3.8 million people over this time period. We are also home to the International Broadcast Center yet again. We were also home to it in 1994. This time we're expecting anywhere from 3,500 to 5,000 international journalists that will be here calling North Texas home. We actually had our first booking of journalists move into the Omni in March. So they are coming and they will be here early. So they will spend quite a bit of time here. And again, that economic impact is based on obviously the International Broadcast Center, those journalists that will be here for a long period of time, as well as those, nearly 4 million visitors that we're expecting. In addition to that, international visitors, particularly for an event of this size, have an average stay of 9.7 days, so nearly 10 days. So that really impacts that economic impact number in regard to the number of hotel nights that is, and times in restaurants and all the other obviously wonderful opportunities for our area where they will spend money. So a little bit about the match schedule. The draw was on December 5th in D.C. We found out that night which teams could potentially play here, and about 24 hours later, they released the schedule. We have a fantastic schedule for all of you soccer fans. I know when you look at this, you could tell some of your neighbors just how great this is going to be. The Netherlands will kick off on June 14th. That is our first match. It is also their first match in the group stage, so that's very exciting. Their fan base is called the Orange Army. If you haven't seen it, Google it later. In 2024, when they were in Germany, which is a lot closer to the Netherlands, but their fan march had 100,000 fans join in on the march to the stadium. So we are very excited. They start that march typically with a double-decker bus. They are actually bringing it from the Netherlands right here to North Texas. So we are excited about that. I've told them that we've got a lot of any UT grads in the house. So it's burnt orange, but they said anything orange, you got it in your closet, come on and join the fan march. So I think there's a real opportunity there for some synergy. So that's the Netherlands versus Japan. Japan will play here twice during the group stage, which is great. Japan travels very well. They spend a lot of money. We are already seeing an increase in visas from Japan and England for this period of time. They could be going other places, but we're pretty sure that they're coming here. So that's going to be a great opening match. Our second match which was actually the last one they revealed on the day of the schedule, is England-Croatia, which is a very highly anticipated match. Obviously, England is very into soccer, and Croatia was actually up against France in the 2022 final in Russia. So they are ready to be back in this World Cup for sure. And then we will have the world champs, Argentina, who will play here twice as well in the group stage, which is great. They have this guy named Messi, who we think this will be his last World Cup. So there will be a lot of people really excited about Argentina being in market. The Argentina consulate has told us that there will be anywhere between 80,000 and 100,000 people from Argentina traveling here to watch the team play. And we know that there are a lot of domestic Argentina fans as well. So you can see how we start getting to that visitation number pretty easy, because we're going to have Argentina here twice. Their pathway also means that they could play a knockout round here in the North Texas region as well. So we expect for those Argentina fans to stay in market for most of them, 10 to 20 days potentially during this World Cup. We just recently found out that Sweden will be playing here. They were a part of the last 6 teams that needed to qualify last week in some of the European tournaments. So they qualified, and they will play against Japan on the 25th. And in even better news, they will actually base camp here. So Sweden will be base camped at Toyota Stadium in Frisco, where FC Dallas plays. So they will spend the entire time that they are in the tournament. The team will actually practice at the Toyota Stadium and be in a hotel near that facility as well. We actually have 2 base camps in the area, which is great for us, really kind of rounds out our World Cup experience. So Czechia, who most of us know as the Czech Republic, also qualified last week, and they will be team base camped in Mansfield at Mansfield Stadium, which is currently being built. Our last match in the group stage is Jordan versus the world champs Argentina. This is a lot of fun because this is Jordan's first time ever in the World Cup, and they go up against the world champs. So they have such a great opportunity to be on the global stage. They are very excited, obviously, because this is their first time qualifying. So that is how the group stage shapes up. We then have 2 in the round of the 32, 1 in the round of 16, and our semifinal on July 14th. So this tells you a little bit more about some of the key locations around the Metroplex that will have FIFA activations. Obviously, we talked about Dallas Stadium. We talked about Fair Park, where the Fan Festival will be. We have the 2 base camps that I've mentioned. The International Broadcast Center is at the K. Bailey Hutchison Convention Center in downtown Dallas. And then we have 2 what they call venue-specific training sites. This is where the teams that are not base camped here, so the ones that are base camped in any other of the host cities, will fly in, if they're playing here, 1 to 2 days before the match. These are the facilities, both the Cotton Bowl and SMU, where they will practice in those 1 to 2 days before their match at Dallas Stadium. So those are the main activation spaces, and you can see it here. We talk about the fact that this is the most regional thing we will have ever done. We have about 134,000 hotel rooms across North Texas. So I've told you guys how many people are visiting. We are going to feel visitors everywhere. And I know that's hard to believe, but I will tell you, when the cheerleaders are here, and there's about 30,000 of them usually at the convention center in downtown Dallas, you see gigantic bows all the way out to Fort Worth and up to Salina and other places. And there's only 30,000 of them. So I'm telling you, you will definitely feel it here in North Richland Hills as well. So just a little bit about some of the areas that I oftentimes get questions about, how we're handling, some of these topics that are obviously top of mind for all of us. The most important piece is that we have a safe World Cup. That's what we are planning for, and that is what we are hoping for. These are the 5 main categories that our safety and security work group is focused on. Our safety and security work group actually has 16 subgroups, and they have participation. Let me see if I included that. Yes. With everybody from the FBI to FEMA to all 5 of the command centers that are here in North Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth, Frisco, Arlington, and DFW Airport. So this is a very significant part of our planning. And our team is led by a gentleman named Rick Burkhead. So the way the organizing committee is established is that we have experts in each of the areas, and then we have regional work groups that help to support, plan, and execute the work. And so on our website, which I will show you at the end, you can contact any of us that lead any of those work groups if you have questions or if you're interested in participating in any way. Transportation, another great topic that we oftentimes come to when we're talking about having this many people obviously in market. Our transportation work group is led by Michael Morris at COG and the COG team overall. They've done a fantastic job. Last week, we had a press conference where we released some details and some maps for our plans of how we will move people around the area during this time. Several of those maps are actually on our website as well when I give that to you. But there are a lot of pieces of this that are extremely important. Everything from wayfinding and signage. How do we make sure that people know where they're going to get to some of the specific locations that we've talked about? For example, we are required to provide transportation for all ticketed fans that go into the stadium for free. So that process will actually be shuttle buses that will leave from Centerport Station from there to the stadium. As we all know, there's no direct public transportation to the stadium. So we'll be shuttling those on about 125 shuttles from Centerport Station to the stadium. That is so that obviously you can take the TRE either from the Fort Worth side or the Dallas side into the Centerport Station and then be shuttled that way. So public transportation, obviously, for a lot of European and foreign travelers is something they are very used to. So you will see a lot of people taking public transportation. There are also some street closures and things like that. So we have maps that will be available. We are also going to try to go, old school when we used to all wake up to watch the news to see what traffic looked like. I'm asking the station, Fox is our rights holder, to do kind of a FIFA World Cup transportation briefing every morning. So hopefully we can make sure that everybody stays informed as to what the traffic is. But it's also other pieces of this in regard to transit coordination and a lot of the other aspects for not only the stadium, but also Fair Park. So as I mentioned, the International Broadcast Center will be here again. It was here in 1994 when we hosted 6 matches. We also were home to the International Broadcast Center. Now, the really interesting part of this is not just where the journalists work, but this is literally a television station. It is the station that will broadcast every single match back to the countries that the journalists are from. So there's a significant amount of equipment and technology that is being built into the stadium right now. They actually took over this space January 14th of this year, and they will be in this space until about August when they decommission it and return it back to the city of Dallas. Like I said, we are expecting thousands of journalists that will be here working every day. In addition to the International Broadcast Center, we are going to have a local media center on the second floor just beneath the International Broadcast Center, because the Broadcast Center is truly for the rights holders. In our market, the rights holders are Fox and Telemundo. And so all of their employees, all of their stations from around the globe will be using the International Broadcast Center. There are other journalists that will be in town, and even local journalists that will be credentialed through our local media center, which will also be at the Kay Bailey Hutchison Convention Center. But this is one of those great opportunities. If you've watched the Olympics or anything like that, at some point they have to talk about something other than the sport. So this is a real opportunity for North Texas to be on that global stage. So we are spending a lot of time developing information and communication, brochures, so that the journalists know for the long period of time they're going to be here, all of the wonderful places that they can come and visit. So we hope to have some information from North Richland Hills at our welcome desk as well in the Broadcast Center. So the Fan Festival, as I mentioned, is going to be 34 days. There are 5 rest days in the schedule. Rest days basically means that there are no matches those days. There are 104 matches in the schedule overall. We will be showing 96 of those matches at the Fan Festival. There are 8 matches that start at 10 or 11 p.m. our time, and we just do not want to clear out Fair Park at 2 o'clock in the morning. So we're not going to show those late matches. So we are showing 96 of the matches and not those 8 late matches. At any one time, our Fan Festival footprint, which is about 1 million square feet, we can hold 35,000 or so people. On some days that FIFA calls A days, those are days like when the world champs are playing. So people will come in and out of the festival depending on what teams they're there and rooting for and the activities that are going on. Some of those days we expect to see 100,000 people through that space throughout the day. So it'll be a very busy place. A lot of people that will travel here, nearly 50% of them will not have tickets to matches at the stadium. And I know for a lot of us that sounds incredible, but the idea is just to be in the place where the World Cup is happening. Has anyone been to a World Cup? Every once in a while I get at least one person. But so evidently this is something like, for those of us, I haven't been the one either, but it's just the energy that people want to be around. And most of the people that are traveling will experience watching these matches at the Fan Festival. And so it's going to be a great place to be. We're going to have several ticketed concerts as well. We're going to have community days where we recognize nonprofits throughout our community that are doing great work. And about 12 of the commercial partners for FIFA are activating at our Fan Festival. Many of the other cities are only having a 4 or 5 day festival. We decided, because, it's Texas, we'd have everything bigger here. So we're going to go the entire time of the tournament. So a lot of them are activating. And these are not tents and tablecloths and, a table. These are 40 by 40, 2-story structures, great interactive activations. The idea is that you don't just come to Fan Festival once, but that you come back multiple times within the 39 days. This is the Fan Festival schedule. I show it not because you're going to be, memorizing this. We're actually going to communicate every day what Fan Festival schedule is because it varies. We're going to open up an hour before the first match and we're going to close an hour after what should be the end of the last match. So it does vary day to day. The hours typically range from anywhere from 9 to 13 hour days. So they are long days. You see, when we first kick off the tournament, we start with just 2 matches. The first 2 matches on the opening day are actually in Mexico. But one is early and one is later. So it is still an 11-hour day. I mentioned that because there are 3 stages in the Fan Festival footprint that I'll show you in a second. And so we have some opportunities for entertainers to perform on these stages in between the matches. So it's one of the things that we are collecting information for when I show you the community engagement playbook. So the light green squares are when we actually have a match on those days at Dallas Stadium. You can see the July schedules where those rest days come in. It's obviously closer to the time around the semifinals and the finals. So you see those rest days there. But it's going to be lots of fun. We hope to see you there. This is the footprint. We are using the area where that includes Dos Equis Pavilion. Some of you may remember it as Starplex. I don't know if anyone remembers it as Starplex. Super Pages. I saw Prince there in 1996. It was Starplex. But so we're using that as our main stage area. That's great because we've got a little bit of covering in our June and July heat that all of the international travelers are very concerned about. We know it's going to be hot, but then there's also a couple of other stages that you see as well where you see live. Then there's Food and Soul, which is the main food areas, which will also include a Taste of Texas experience. And then some of those activations I were talking about as well are in those red areas. This is just a rendering of what that might look like over there at the pavilion. So we've been doing a lot of things already. Hopefully you've seen some of these things, but I just want to mention them. We launched our official poster last April, actually, and that was actually a public contest. So I looked through a lot of artwork. I saw a lot of armadillos and bluebonnets, and luckily I came across Matt Cliff's artwork here. We thought he did a really great job blending that corporate culture and cowboy culture together in this poster here that we like to call the Sliding Cowboy. Matt is actually from he's from Benbrook. We say Fort Worth when we're talking to people that don't know, but he's from Benbrook. And he's a fantastic artist and has done some really great activities with kids in the area as well, coloring the poster. Trey Nagella, who is with him there, is a three-time Grammy Award-winning producer who helped to actually impact the Sonic ID. So FIFA puts out a song, and then they handed it back to all the host cities and had us impact the chorus a little bit with a local producer, and that's what Trey did for us. You can find the 30-second and 2.5-minute version on YouTube. You can also download it anywhere you stream your music from. Trianda is the official match ball. Trianda is try for three. So this is a three-country North American World Cup. So we always are trying to represent all three countries together. They also launched the mascots. Maple is from Canada, Zayu the Jaguars from Mexico, and of course Clutch the Bald Eagles from the US. They're always together. They travel in a group. They've got these really great cartoons, but they also come in live form. So you actually can request the mascots at an event if you would like to. And here is the way that you can find all the different ways to get engaged, whether you have a small business, whether you have an entertainment group that you want to have out, if you have a food or beverage company that you're interested in learning more about how to get them involved at Fan Festival. We have what we call the Community Engagement Playbook. It's digital because it changes all the time. There are always new opportunities coming up. It is in both English and Spanish. But if you click that, you can find all of these things that I've talked about here tonight and then ways to get involved. I mentioned community days already. So one of the really important pieces of an event of this size is leaving a positive legacy. So there are several areas that we're focused on in doing that. And we've actually formed the North Texas Sports Foundation to raise money to do some of these efforts. So for example, we are, our goal is to build 26 mini pitches. So these are small soccer fields that can oftentimes be built even in a space that maybe used to be a swing set on a playground or in a parking lot. But it's a great smaller size version of a soccer pitch that can go in a lot of different areas. So we are looking for under-resourced areas that might need mini pitches. Like I said, we're trying to build 26 of those throughout this year. So we know some will be built probably after the tournament. But we really focus on practice facilities, pitches, and programs. So part of what we are also doing is investing in organizations that are already offering programs for soccer in under-resourced areas. There are also some great sustainability projects that we have, as well as community and neighborhood beautification. This is the North Texas Sports Foundation, which I already mentioned, is also one of our host city supporters, as you see here at the bottom of the slide. But this is how we are raising money to be able to accomplish those projects. This is going to be in Arlington, and I know that guy looks really small there, but this is going to be a significant sized sculpture that is made out of all reclaimed Texas metals. And this is a permanent sculpture that will remind us all of this fantastic event that we had hosting the World Cup. It's called the Texan Golden Boot. And the nice thing is around this will be this plaza that has bricks, so you can have your name or your company's name and get your piece of the World Cup here with this sculpture. This is another fundraiser, obviously, for the Sports Foundation. There are tickets available. Does anyone have tickets? Has anyone gone to the ticket lottery? No. Okay. So Tickets are still available. This is their last minute sales. It just came out on April 1st. So if you would like to try to get tickets, I will tell you that our 84,000 plus seats for our matches are starting to sell out. People are coming and they are excited. We actually also have hospitality and lounge packages as well that we are selling directly. So one match, all 9 matches, follow your team. We can help you get those seats at the stadium as well. A couple events that we have coming up that I just want to highlight for you. Human rights and sustainability are 2 pillars that are very important to FIFA as well as to the organizing committee. So this is being held on April 24th. Kelly is actually Pele's daughter. And so she has spent much of her life talking about human rights. Her father was forced by the Brazilian government to play soccer for a period of time. And so she talks about the impacts of that and also women in sports and some of the other issues that she's really focused a lot of her career on. So she's the keynote speaker. And then there's a fantastic panel that we have as well discussing some of these topics. That's on April 24th at the Anatole. We will also that week be at the Anatole for EarthX with a sustainability panel of experts that we have coming too. So that event is happening. And on May 30th, we are having the Countdown to the Cup. It's a 5K and community fun run in Cypress Waters. So if you'd like to join us, you can click that QR code. Again, all of this is on our website. So I've touched on most of the events that we have coming up. There's an overall regional community cleanup going on, community cleanup challenge. It started in March. So we are going to crown whichever community has cleans their community up the best, whether it's through trash weight and all this other great stuff that COG has a whole system for on their website. So at the Fan Festival, we will crown the cleanest neighborhood in the North Texas region. We've done several tree plantings. We will obviously recognize our volunteers during April, during National Volunteer Week, because volunteers are the heartbeat of the World Cup. The actual trophy is coming with the Coca-Cola Trophy Tour, April 24th through the 26th. And then we kick off on June 11th. There is our website, dallasfwc26.com. And I'm going to hand it over, and I'll be back for questions.
Thank you very much, Noelle. Chief Garner, right? Y'all want to come talk about our impact possibly? Just Chief Garner. So it's okay.
So she mentioned there's a significant impact in terms of security that is taking place and planning and coordinating with our federal and state partners. We are definitely plugged into that. The impact to our city is going to be more nebulous because we just don't know. We don't have any planned events, but we are planning and preparing for the fact that there will be pop-up events. There's going to be days, of course, rest days or times that you have people that are coming in to watch a particular country that are not going to be engaged. They may not be at a fan zone or they may not be there at the match. And so we expect that they're going to be here in our community taking advantage of things like NRH2O, Peppa Pig, and things like that. So we are gearing up and ensuring that we are going to be prepared for the additional traffic, as well as just the fact that we're going to have quite likely a lot of international visitors who may not be familiar with our customs and the things of our community. So we are prepared for that, and we look forward to the challenge, and I think we're ready for it.
So now we're ready for questions. So Noelle, I'm going to start everybody with one question to you. Do you think on the round of 32, once it starts, that's when people will really start booking hotel rooms and doing things because they're waiting to see what teams are going to be in there? Because I checked hotels the other week, last week, just to see what was booked, and there's a lot of open hotel rooms still during that period of time. He's got one.
Okay. Yes, hotel rooms. So, yes, there's been some interesting reports about hotel rooms. So FIFA puts a hold on hotel rooms for business purposes. So obviously they've got a lot of people that are coming out, whether it's media, their businesses. So they recently released a lot of those hotel rooms because that contract is 120 days and then they release them, which is great news because that means that fans can now really start booking their hotels. So what we have seen is that hotels for June in Dallas in particular, so this information is from Visit Dallas, I have not gone to every community yet, is up by 46% year over year for June. International travel is for this period of June and July, according to DFW, is already up by 100%. So a couple things are going on in the hotel rooms, like you said. One is that we have 9 matches, more than anybody else, but that's 5 in the group stage, so we know who's playing there, but there are 4 in the knockout round. So there is going to be a bit of a delay, and then you're going to see that real increase come when you get that knockout rounds, just like we're seeing for June in the group stage, that increase of 46%. You will see that and then some. We are seeing a heavy increase already around the semifinal, because that is something that people will travel to no matter who it is, particularly corporate guests and things of that nature.
Thank you. Now we'll open up questions. Anybody else have questions in general? Craig, do you want to come up here too, just in case we can? Depends on what the question is. There's one in the back.
Not a question, just a comment. And I thought it was a gun. Just a comment and appreciation to Craig and his team for all they do in our economic development area. But I just wanted to comment that not only are these businesses coming to town and giving us great places for entertainment and meals, but they also partner with a lot of our great nonprofits and with our schools. As a member of the Community Enrichment Center board, we have a fond appreciation for Blue Goose. Before they even opened, they bought a pallet jack for the pantry. And during their rebuild, several of their members were working in the pantry. And for our Refresh 2026 kickoff later this month, they're providing the goodies, the meals. So just a fond appreciation for all they do and for all your team does to bring them to our community.
Agreed. Craig, you want to talk about what Jake's does as far as community stuff as well?
Yeah, we were recruiting the developer and owner of Jake's Tacos and Avocados, and they were feeling us out. We were feeling them out, and they said, "Well, where are your high schools?" And so I said, "Well, there's Birdville, Richland, and Fort Worth Christian." And they said, "And which side are we looking at?" And I pointed. It was right in between all 3 of them, and they just lit up because they are huge promoters and sponsors of all the athletic teams of each high school. They found that to be a really good element to sustainable customers and programming within their restaurant and their outdoor area. And so to Tito's point, partnering with those nonprofits is a big part of many of the businesses that we recruit.
Yes.
So this is kind of a economic development and FIFA question. So in this area, because it's not directly in the main spaces, but there's a big 4th of July event that takes place, right? So how can or what should an area like this do to prepare with a welcome crowd like that for the 4th of July event?
Who would like to answer that?
So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Paulette Hartman. I'm the city manager here. And so we actually just recently met with the chamber and all of our 5 cities that are involved in the chamber. And just to discuss that for this year, because it's a little bit different. And then also, as you heard the chief say, we've been participating in the security and emergency management planning, which means that while we have games going on or matches going on, and while we have extra visitors in our city, we could be called up to assist in other areas, our police and fire. So that said, we pulled the group together and we picked the date of July 1st this year to hold the Northeast Family 4th. Because the other thing that people, it's the 250th anniversary of our country. So those celebrations are going to be big this year, and ours will be really big this year. They're going to have the drones, and they will be trying to set another Guinness World Record with the drone show. So we are already in the planning stages of what does that look like in terms of what we normally do, but also expecting larger crowds and that type of thing. So we already work on that, but make a note, July 1st is when the Northeast Family 4th will take place. Yeah.
And what Paula did say is the drone guys that were originally from North Richland Hills, and we helped kind of get them kicked off. They're actually doing this very large drone show of 2,500 additional drones they're not charging the extra for us to do it, except their cost, which is very inexpensive. Once divided between the 5 cities. Yeah. Okay, so everybody's got a question in a minute. So anybody want to use another question? John? Right here. Yeah.
No, the question that I had was, I guess, kind of the elephant in the room or the elephant in the paper. A lot of the articles have been in the Star Telegram about the economic development opportunity, I guess, with the TCC land, and kind of a he said, she said developing about whether or not a formal proposal was sent over to the TCC board. I just wondered if you would elaborate on that.
Sure. I think never was said that there was a formal proposal set over. There was a proposal for them to talk about, and it was not from us. It's from the retailer, which has been an interesting thing to watch of how things were said, and speculations by you that, you know, I'm taking over the board or something. I don't know, some crazy thing. So we did kind of have a lot of back and forth that's gone on for quite a few months before we even said anything publicly. And we didn't really, we would have preferred that it all stayed quiet. And then we got a rejection, but we also had publicly that the board didn't see anything. The board members said they didn't see anything. So it was kind of a thing that just kind of kept growing at that point. I mean, we're certainly still headed in that direction, and I think things can still be positive and work out that way. So the evolution has been extremely interesting. You want to address anything at all, Craig, with how you see the timeline or anything, or just kind of pretty much covered all of it?
Just timelines aside, the opportunity is tremendous, such that, one, providing services to the community, but also the tax revenues that the community would benefit would be a dramatic boost, and further our reliance upon property tax, or further diminish our reliance upon property tax, which I know is something near and dear to all of us.
And I think Craig also reiterated, it's an extremely real opportunity. It's not there's nothing false about the opportunity. It's real. So anybody else have, yes, right there. We want to get it on, yes, for posterity. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, there's a lot of social media, Star Telegram, there's opinions, and there's so much going on. I definitely have my opinion. I'm in support. It would be a great location. I think Costco is our mayor should say it should be a national retailer. But I'm in support of that. So what, as a taxpayer, somebody that lives in the community, what can we do to support or to calm the camaraderie, all the back and forth and this one and that one? And is there something that we can do to just be more uniform?
I'll give you a sports analogy. How's that? I'm going to do it from the TCU or just college football recruiting perspective. College football recruits, they go look at websites and they see within the alumni websites and see who's positive about their team and who's negative about their team. Obviously, you don't want negative people anywhere around decision making for the city, right? You want to be positive in going forward to it. So the more that we can be positive and uplifting about things, and that's in anything, the better off you are. It works in recruits for football. It can work in this too. So I would say that's the best. I would say contact the TCC people to just actually have a conversation and have an open mind about it. We don't want to force them to do anything. We want them to just talk. It would be nice to know that they had just an honest conversation about it. And right now, I'm not convinced that they have at this point. I think we've been very open, honest, and forthright in all the conversations we've been. Board, the TCC board, folks. I think that was posted a few times of how you contact them. But that would be a positive say, hey, we'd love to have something in an area like that. Yeah. Yeah, Sean.
So on the same vein, economic development, I understand the confidentiality rules for that versus like what's legally required. What are we able to share ahead of time? Like, are we able to talk about the businesses that are interested? Where's the lines for that? Because I understand you can't get into details, but what can you share?
Well, as Craig went through earlier, when we are in negotiation with someone, we have to keep everything confidential for the reasons that Craig outlined, but also because should someone learn a competing city that might also be interested in that we are talking to a specific person that they would like to have, and they learn what we're offering, or let's say they've approached several cities and we're all submitting proposals, which happens from time to time, they can undercut that. And the other reason is if there's any real estate transaction involved in that has to be kept confidential until it's finalized. So that said, there's not really much we can release while we're negotiating. But what we've done historically is when the council approves a final agreement, Craig will make a general presentation that explains the major terms of the deal, and then, like he said, we send the final signed agreement to the state comptroller's office, and that lives on the state website for anyone to see. So we try to share what we can. In this instance, though, let me just refer to some of the timeline situations and the things that have been said that I've been keeping up with. So the national retailer did reach out to TCC originally through the proper channels, so kind of broker to broker, and they were just dismissed. And so the national retailer reached out to us in order to try to get a conversation with TCC. And so we facilitated that. The first conversation that we had with the chancellor and her staff was just with us and the chancellor and her staff. And as I recall, I think that was kind of at her request. Then we set up a meeting with the national retailer reps and the chancellor and her staff, which the chancellor was unavailable for. So her staff was on that meeting. And so they've heard the proposal, so to speak. And then from there, we're not sure what was actually presented to the board or not. But that's when the mayor and council and community decided to kind of make sure that the board knows that an actual proposal has been submitted for that national retailer. This is their primary location that they are interested in. And we looked at other spots in the area, but there's not anything that's of that acreage that will accommodate their full site. So that might set kind of it straight as far as what meetings have occurred or have been attempted to occur and what has not. So that sometimes happens because when an economic development deal gets going, sometimes it's retailers or restaurants that we have been trying to court for a long period of time. And so, and then they're like, okay, the time is right or whatever happens. And then sometimes they come to us. This national retailer we have been chasing for years, but also they came to us and said, hey, we're ready. And this is what we want. And so that begins sort of where we get involved. And sometimes when it's other people's land, they oftentimes will contact our economic development department to get the right contact to talk to about that opportunity. So that's not unusual for somebody to reach out to the city in order to try to get a conversation with the property owner, whoever it might be. In this case, it's TCC. So,
very nice. Any other questions? You only get one tonight. You can ask me later. Anybody else? Going once, going twice? Okay.
For the
FIFA.
for the practice facilities, do people get to go there to watch?
Or is that just local?
No, that's a good question.
They will have a couple of like community days, and the teams that are actually base camps here are also required to do community service as well. But they will have a couple of community days where they'll have a couple of open practices.
Cool. That's very nice. Yeah, there you go. Can't afford. That's part of your experience.
For the economic development, how do you guys balance the pure revenue potential with the quality of life for residents and current citizens? I think Malibu Jacks is probably a pretty good example of this. I think they had a shooting pretty recently. So I just want to know how you balance that, especially going forward, and how you mitigate the issue with the shooting at Malibu Jacks.
Somebody want to wrestle?
So Malibu Jacks is an instance where they kind of came to us for a location, but they had already scouted out that site location. Being that a lot of times if a business is adjacent to residential, there are mitigation efforts in terms of like noise and that kind of thing that we negotiate ahead of time. Light pollution, I guess we call it, and all those kinds of things. So, for example, when the Kroger went in, the Kroger Marketplace in the north side of town, all of those things, because it backs up to the Thornbridge neighborhood. So all those things, light pollution, screening, all those kind of things were built into the sort of design of the building. With the situation with Malibu Jacks, with the shooting, we actually had off-duty officers that were there working security at the time, and so they have security there all of the time. And it's because of the actions of that officer that that didn't escalate into something greater. The shooting did not actually occur inside the development. It occurred in the parking lot. And like I said, due to the swift actions of the officer that was working off duty at the time, it was stopped immediately. Unfortunately, a woman lost her life. The woman that there was I guess some sort of a argument with the shooter. But the quick actions of the officer prevented the loss of life of anyone else. The establishment actually had already closed at that point, and they had moved to the parking lot. So I don't know, Chief, if there's anything else that you want to add to that.
Come up here so that everybody can turn around. So
Here, I'll take the mic.
yeah, absolutely. That was an interesting thing. That was I want to say within a week or two of that business opening, and I can speak on the behalf of the city and Craig and Economic Development. They are very careful in the types of businesses they attract. Unfortunately, anytime you bring groups of people together, especially these days and age, there is the opportunity for conflict. I don't think that anybody would have ever looked at a place like Malibu Jacks and said, this is what's going to draw that type of environment that's going to resort to that level of violence. So a very unusual thing for that business and for our city. It's very concerning to me, not only that we had that level of crime in our city, because I'm proud of our crime rate, I'm proud of the community that we have, but also that business that had, invested in our community and recognized that we're a safe community, and we had that right off the bat. The people that were involved in that came from outside of our community, and that's one of the challenges that certainly we face as the police department. Is crime knows no borders. We can't build a wall around our city, and so sometimes people with different values and different approaches and things like that come into our city and do crime, and that was a perfect example of that. But I do feel positive about the businesses that we bring in are not the type that are generally going to bring that type of issue in with them. So.
You were talking about our property crime, Doc? What have you done to?
Yeah, absolutely. We have made significant strides. Over the past year, I want to say our property crime, burglaries are down. I think some 19 to 22%. Retail theft is down some 19%. So we have, over the past year, we put a lot of effort into really just partnering with our community. We recognize that as a police department, we can't be everywhere at once. We need the help of the community. We need the help of our retail partners to be involved and to let us know and see something, say something, that sort of thing. So over the past year, we have really worked on building partnerships within our community. We have a quarterly retail theft roundtable that we have done where we're bringing in our loss prevention people and our store managers so they can share information about what retail theft trends you were seeing so we can better respond to that. How can we better respond to you? And again, I think that's part of what has contributed to that 19% reduction in retail theft. So we're happy with the strides that we're making. We're going to continue to do that, continue to be active. On the other side of that, we've seen some of our self-initiated activity go up 19%. And I think that has been helpful also. So we can't stop all crime, but we're going to sure do our best to try.
Anyone else? Yes. Right here. Yeah. There.
I'm a project manager for one of the parks departments in the area, and I'm working on a mini pitch for this city. I was wondering what the possibility is of FIFA bringing a mini pitch to North Richland Hills that before the World Cup, and would that attract some tourists to our city?
George.
So there is an opportunity for us to partner with you on that mini pitch. So if you go to our website, Steve Davis is the person who's over our legacy projects, and so he will talk to you about what's required, how much it is, where the funding is, and then we've done some investigation around the entire region with the U.S. Soccer Foundation. But we're actually always looking for people who are actually already organized, and potentially working on a mini pitch. That's how we launched our first two. So he would be the right person. There's actually a form on our website where you could fill out just as informationally telling us a little bit about where you think there could be a mini pitch in North Richland Hills, and then he'd get back in touch with you. So I can. No, you don't know. Anyone want a mini pitch in North Richland Hills? Yeah. So that's one of the ways we could talk to the team about it.
I have a question. So is with all the people from, soccer fans from all over going to be here for watching different matches and whatnot, there's obviously going to be like watching parties in different sports bars and venues and all that kind of thing. Is there going to be like a official or unofficial way sports bars and other venues can like register their watching parties on one of your websites or something?
So
There you go. Just come on right here.
So public viewing and watch parties is always a topic that we get with business owners. So there are a couple different things that I typically mention. So anything that is not in your home is considered a public viewing to FIFA. So that means that basically if you are, having a viewing of the matches, that you agree to the public viewing policy that's on our website. It's also on their website, obviously. If you are going to have more than 1,000 people while you're showing those matches, they consider that a commercial public viewing, and you would need a license. So there is a link on our website to the portal to basically register your event. I know you're talking about for marketing, but first let's talk about that part, right? The other way that it is a commercial viewing is if you are going to either charge to get in or you have any sponsors, right? That would be considered a commercial viewing. If you are a bar or a restaurant that in your regular course of business shows matches already and neither one of those two things apply, then you don't need a license. So the way the license works, it comes straight out of our local rights holders, which is, like I said, Fox and Telemundo. And they'll work with you. Really, it's more so FIFA looking if there's any branding conflicts. So ways to promote your parties. There are official and unofficial. Obviously, we're trying to drive a lot of people to the fan festival at Fair Park. We do also have a couple of official watch parties as well. But on our website, we will have an events section that we're building out a calendar for. And so if you go to our website, you can register your restaurant or bar, and then we're going to send information about that as well.
Anybody else? Another question? Going once, going twice. It is 7:32 and we're done. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Noelle, for also doing it.